Access show notes and learn about our English courses for economists by visiting our website, englishforeconomists.com. Hello and welcome. I am Alan Robert and I am your host at English for Economists. I specialize in teaching English to economists. I love what I do and I am so very happy that you could join me today. My goal with these podcasts is to present you with practical, non-technical vocabulary that you can use to talk about many different aspects of the economy. Today's topic is near and dear to the hearts of many economists and anybody else who takes an interest in the economy. Our topic today is elections. So let's get started. Our vocabulary list is a little longer than usual today, so pay close attention. Here goes. Run for office. To seek political power via an election. Platform. A political party's formal written statement of its principles and goals. Poll. A survey of people taken to find out which candidate they might vote for. Front runner. The political candidate who looks as though he or she is winning. The front runner. Polling station. That's the location where people vote, a polling station. Voting booth. That's the small enclosure, the small space in which a person votes. Paper ballot. That's the piece of paper on which you indicate your choice. That's where you mark who you want to vote for, a paper ballot. Cast a ballot. To cast a ballot means to vote in an election. You cast your ballot. Spoiled ballot. That's a ballot paper that is invalid. People spoil their ballot when they want to kind of destroy the intention of their vote. When you spoil a ballot, you're not voting for anyone. Voter turnout. That's the percentage of eligible voters who cast a ballot in an election. Landslide. A landslide is a victory in which one candidate's votes far surpass those of other candidates. You win in a landslide. That means you win with a lot of votes. Electoral fraud. That's illegal interference in the process of an election. Electoral fraud. All right, now listen for those words in this reading so you can hear how they are used in context. Economists pay special attention to elections since government policies have a very big impact on the economy. The way elections are held vary from country to country, but they all have several things in common. First, politicians decide to run for office. Maybe they run for mayor, or they run for a seat in the Congress or the Senate, or maybe they run for president. During the race, politicians make a lot of promises. These promises are part of their so-called political platform. Their platform is basically what they represent and what they promise to do if they get elected. Now, before the election, everybody wants to know who the favorites are, and that is where the polling companies come in. The polling companies conduct polls, which is like a survey of the voters, and they ask them who they think they will vote for. Once we see the results of the poll, we know who the front runners are. In other words, we know who is leading. So if you are leading in the polls, you're a front runner. Finally, after a lot of promises, Election Day finally comes around, and voters go to the place they are supposed to vote, the so-called polling stations. And they identify themselves and go into small, private spaces called the polling booth. Inside, there might be an electronic device for electronic voting, but probably voters will just mark their choice on a special piece of paper called a ballot. When they fold and drop the paper ballot into the box, that's called casting a ballot. Sometimes the voter doesn't like any of the candidates and wants to make a protest statement, so they don't write anything down on the paper, or they make some other kind of mark. We call that spoiling the ballot. And that ballot doesn't count towards any candidate, but still, the voter is sending a message. In some countries, people are very interested in politics, so there is a very high voter turnout. In other countries, there isn't much interest at all, and that leads to a low voter turnout. On rare occasions, when a politician is particularly popular, that candidate wins in a landslide. That's another way to say that the candidate has won big. They won with a large majority. But sometimes a candidate can win in a landslide, but it's not because they got a lot of legitimate votes, but it's because they cheated dishonestly. We call that electoral fraud. Okay, friends, that's an overview of some of the most common election terms in context. Now, here's the list one more time. Run for office. To seek political power through an election. Platform. A political party's formal written statement of its principles and goals. Poll. A survey of people taken to find out which candidate they might vote for. Frontrunner. The political candidate who looks as though he or she is winning. Polling station. The location where people vote. Voting booth. A small enclosure, a small space in which a person votes. Paper ballot. A piece of paper on which you indicate your choice. Cast a ballot. That means to vote in an election. Spoiled ballot. That's a ballot paper that is invalid. Voter turnout. Percentage of eligible voters who cast a ballot in an election. Landslide. A victory in which one candidate's votes far surpass those of other candidates. They have many more votes than the others. They win in a landslide. Electoral fraud. Illegal interference with the process of an election. Cheating. Fraud. Well, that's all for today. The English for Economists podcast is new, so this is a great time to share it with your friends and colleagues. Also, if you have any suggestions or comments, write to me at alan@englishforeconomists.com. I really would very much enjoy hearing from you. So, until next time, this is Alan Robert at English for Economists, wishing you a fantastic day. Take care.